Welcome into a Wednesday here in New York City. Evan and Tiki on the Fan. It's really baseball season. Met fans are ticked off at the limp bats. Yankee fans are ticked off. They blew a game in the 8th inning. And don't worry, we'll get to all of it as the show rolls on, including the Mets openly tampering with Sandy Alcantara. But something hit me late last night because I couldn't sleep. You know, that's the deal, Teak. Sometimes I never sleep.
Yeah.
So I wanted to catch up on Jameis Winston's press conference.
You'll be sick in a week.
Probably. I'm already sick, actually. I was watching Jameis Winston's press conference from the other day when he was announced.
Glorious.
He's such an entertaining guy, such a fun guy, that I think the New York Giants have a major, major worry, and I'm not sure how Daboll's going to address it. And I want to bring this up to you because you've been in locker rooms. I haven't. Okay, I've never been in a locker room other than as a media member. I'm worried that Giant players are going to want to play with Jameis Winston and not Russell Wilson.
Oh, it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, right?
It is, because Jameis Winston is the life of a party.
Yes.
Now, at some point, it might wear on you. At some point, as it did on the great Giant fan, host of One Giant Step podcast, Sean Morash, it just gets to you. You're just like, all right, Jameis, shut up. Right? You say it with a smile. You're not being mean about it. But the only way it lasts is if he's playing and he's good and you're winning a lot. And then it feels like it's all fun. But I think at times it might come across as false enthusiasm. And sometimes that's good because team is down, despondent, everybody's dragging, he lost 2 games in a row, whatever it is. You kind of need a pick-me-up. Like, let's get back to, what this is all about, having fun and winning games. But in the short term, that dude is inspiring.
Well, that's the key. You use the proper phrase, short term. Because Winston and Wilson are short-term options for the New York Giants. All you've got to do is look at their contract. So this is not a 5-year worry. This is a 1-year worry.
Right.
This is when they go to mini camp in a couple of weeks or when they're in training camp in a few months, whether there's a rookie there or not, Malik Neighbors is going to find himself inspired by Jameis Winston. The Giant offense is going to be inspired by Jameis Winston. They don't care about the money Russell Wilson's making. They don't care about the Super Bowl he won. They're going to care about the here and now. And so we joke about the personalities. We have a lot of fun with the personalities. We play drops of Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, and we joke about how corny Russ is. But it's no joke if the guys in the room are basically feeling the same way. And watching Jameis's press conference and watching Russ's, I started to think to myself, I can totally see players saying, I don't want to play with Russ. I want to play with him.
I think the challenge, and this is an unintended consequence, of freeing yourself, meaning the Giants, Joe Shane, of having to draft a quarterback in the first round or second, whatever it is, drafting a quarterback this year. You sign 2 veterans, but neither one of them have a history with the team. Neither one of them have a history with the locker room. And what's going to naturally happen is that some guys are going to like Jameis Winston. Some guys are going to gravitate towards Russell Wilson. And all it's going to take is a couple of, bad outings. And all of a sudden, by whoever's starting, let's just say in this case it's Russell because we're making the assumption that he's the going into camp starter. Russell Wilson has a couple of bad outings, then 5, 6, 7 guys start saying Jameis should be starting.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it publicly. They're just saying it behind the scenes in a little corner in the hot boxes we used to do it, go into sauna and just talk trash about everybody, right? And then all of a sudden it becomes this big division. It becomes this polar locker room. And it's not anything overt, but it's disruptive.
Right.
Like, that's the problem with having 2 quarterbacks that are capable of being the starter or being the guy who wins games for you. And it's why when this first happened, when Russell first got signed after Jameis got signed, my initial thought was eventually they're going to release one of these guys. I remember saying that.
Yeah.
Because as interesting as it sounds, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's also like their personalities are very polarizing. There's the feeling of either you love Winston, you think he's hysterical, this is great, or what, Sean, you were saying even a few weeks ago, it's not so funny when you're saying, Lord save me from pick sixes when he's doing it for your team.
Right.
So he's a polarizing figure. Obviously, Russell Wilson is polarizing, and so I would assume the locker room is going to have that same polarized thoughts, and that divide could happen even before they start playing a game. Once you start hanging out with the guys, that could happen. And here's the vibe I get about you. The vibe I get from Tiki Barber is if you were still active and you were still playing and you went into that room, you would probably say, I want to play for Jameis. That's the vibe I get. Am I wrong?
I don't know.
You'd be pro Jameis?
I probably would because he's just fun, Jameis, and I know he's going to be prolific, and I know he's not going to let mistakes bother him. It's not going to stop him from trying.
Right.
And I think, sometimes, say with Russell, he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. It's because he doesn't take a ton of risks.
Right.
And sometimes you gotta risk to have massive reward. And I think I'd get frustrated if Russell Wilson stopped trying to take shots and stopped being aggressive and just played it safe, because it'd put us in a position to lose.
How about the personality aspect of it? Russ is corny. You've said it. We've all seen it.
But it doesn't matter. Like that. When it comes to game day, that doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
It's just, are you balling? At the end of the day, the only thing, I don't care if you're an ass. I don't care if you're smartest, you're a brainiac. I don't care if you're the dirtiest, scummiest dude on the planet. If you ball on Sundays, I'm down with you.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's ultimately what it'll come down to, I think, with whoever's the starting quarterback. But who would I have more fun with? Definitely James.
And I could see with a young roster, especially on offense, guys just connecting more with Jameis Winston than Russell Wilson. And we know both guys' resumes, but to the New York Giants and to the New York Giant players, those resumes don't mean a damn thing.
Right.
Because Russell Wilson has never thrown a pass as a New York Giant. Jameis Winston has never thrown an interception as a New York Giant. So it's not really about what Jameis Winston did in his career or, Russ went to 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. I don't think any of that crap matters.
No.
I think it's about in the moment and just watching Winston, just seeing him. I can picture him kind of galvanizing a locker room a lot more than Russell Wilson, who I get the sense players almost roll their eyes at.
Hey, guys, Russell here.
The problem is that right now we're having a lot of resume champions going on right now, especially with Russell Wilson. It's, look what he's done in his resume. He's done this, and he took a team to a Super Bowl and took a team back and was just a couple plays away, and he was borderline Hall of Famer and all this yada, yada, yada. That was one of the great. Don't tell me your resume. Tell me what you're going to do for me now. At 36 years old, 37 years old, what are you doing for me now? Because that's all that matters. I am not the Seattle Seahawks, right? I am not the Denver Broncos. I'm not the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are the New York Giants. What are you doing for us, period? Don't talk about what you did in the past because it means absolutely nothing.
You're great.
Especially because it's not even on this team, right? It's almost hard to talk about, last year he had a great season. Who cares? Right?
It's about this season.
It's about this season. And Jameis has an inferior resume for sure because he didn't even started the last 5 years. But there is something about motivation that matters, and I think Jameis has that in spades.
The motivation, and then the other part is that there's still that tiny possibility. It's tiny, I admit, but there's this tiny possibility that Brian Daboll could unlock something in Jameis Winston.
That keeps him from throwing pick sixes?
That keeps him from throwing pick sixes. That it may not be the Lord keeping him from pick sixes, but it could be Brian Daboll. While with Russell Wilson, the odds are very, very, very high that we've seen the best of him. That there's nothing that's going to happen with Brian Daboll and the New York Giants where Russell Wilson is either going to recreate his best years in Seattle or we're about to see the best of him. That is highly unlikely. While with Jameis Winston, there's that chance that maybe with this coaching staff, maybe, especially his age, he's a little bit younger than Russ by about 5 years, that you can see more from him. So I ask you this question. From a playing standpoint, forget the personality for a second. Who gives them a better chance to win next year, Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson?
My gut says Jameis Winston.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a W.
There you go. That is a W. Does that make you sick, Sean?
I want to vomit into this microphone. Absolutely vomit. I'll say this. The Giants can't do what they just did 4 minutes ago if they think Jameis gives them a better chance to take.
What did they do 4 minutes ago?
Take away Tay Banks' number and put it on the back of Russell Wilson. They've just officially announced Russell Wilson is wearing number 3.
Right?
Wow, that's a power move. Now, did Russ give him something?
Well, we don't know. The Giants did this video where they're stitching the 3 and the Wilson on the jersey and hanging it up, officially announced, and you could go buy your Russell Wilson jersey.
Okay, but what is Tay Banks' number?
We don't know. Hasn't been announced. It's empty.
There's a big difference.
I'm assuming Russ. I'm going to assume Russ gave him something.
Yeah,
right?
There's a big difference between the Giants took a number away versus Russ cut a deal.
Was he 3 in Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Was he 3 in Denver?
Yes.
So he's kept it the whole way.
That's been his number in his NFL career. So I'm going to assume, but all I'm saying is you're not doing this for a guy you don't envision being a backup to Jameis Winston.
Well, but Sean, here's what you shouldn't worry about for now, and then I'll tell you what you should worry about. I agree that the Giants' intentions is that Russell Wilson is going to be the starting quarterback over Jameis Winston. I don't think there's any doubt. What I am bringing up is, A, the players may rally around Jameis Winston because of his personality. And then, 2, I just asked Tiki, hey, from a football standpoint, who do you think gives them a better chance to win this season? That's not Brian Daboll speaking. That's Tiki Barber speaking. So if your argument is the Giants' intention is Russ to be the starter, you're right. But what about the rest of that stuff?
Here's what I'll say about personality. Obviously, I have not been in a locker room. I've basically been in a Wendy's drive-thru before playing flag football, unlike Tiki Barber, okay? But personality can only go so far, dude. I mean, the moment you get on the how many times did we see last year? Daniel Jones misses a throw, and there's Wan'Dale Robinson stomping his feet at another overthrow or anything like that. I don't care what your personality is. If you start out a couple games and those interceptions and turnovers happen, and you've basically turned the locker room over to a guy who the team has fallen in love with the personality, but is killing them with the turnovers.
Right.
To me, you're doing exactly what you're just getting away from in Daniel Jones, albeit with a bubblier, more outspoken personality. You're making a locker room fall in love with a guy who is going to lose you football games. That just happened, and it killed the Giants' room in 2024.
Ask Jerry Jeudy who he'd rather play with, Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson. He played with both. He was a 0 with Russ, and he was awesome with Winston. He's going to get you the rock. He's going to throw pick sixes unless the Lord delivers him from him, but he throws for like 500 yards. So I think the receivers, Malik Neighbors, would probably rather play with Winston because he can sling it.
It's a great question he brings up. If you're Malik Neighbors, Russ may give you the best chance to win, but it's a brilliant point by him. See, I said brilliant point by you. It is.
What's going to keep
what's going to matter
happy?
What's going to matter more to Malik? Getting the football in those situations versus those pick sixes. I don't know. It's a great question.
If you're throwing pick sixes and it's not costing you victories because you're throwing for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns a game, then you know what? That's the risk you take.
Right.
Keep winning.
Right.
But if you're losing games on last plays or last drives because you're throwing interceptions, there's no way that's going to fly.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
The other thing I have a question about, too, is every time I watch these two speak, I have no doubt in my mind that Russell Wilson is a complete corny cornball, makes me cringe. Why is Jameis Winston not viewed as like that? To me, all of his stuff is completely corny, too.
The key is...
Because I think it's because Jameis feels genuine.
Does it to you?
It's who he is. I'm just telling you. It's just who he is. I've been around him a couple times. Rondé's told me the same thing. That's just who he is. He is that way, period. And Russ feels like he's putting on an act.
Mr. Unlimited. It's obvious, isn't it?
I hear Jameis Winston talk, and there's very rare, but I have met people like this in life where I walk away, not that I've had the personal conversations, but hearing him talk like, wait a minute, is he trying to get one over on me? This kid, like, it comes across as inauthentic. I know you're saying it's authentic, but for a room of guys, to me, it comes across as inauthentic.
You know what else I interpret from both of those guys? One guy it feels very humble, genuinely humble in Jameis Winston, and the other one comes across kind of arrogant. Comes across like, I've been to 2 Super Bowls. I've won a Super Bowl. There does come across like a very different vibe from both of those guys. And remember, Sean, both of them, I can see why you either hate them or you love them. I can see it. So
both of them.
Both of them.
Guys.
Absolutely. Right. What was the word I used earlier? I already forgot the vocabulary word. Polarizing. Thank you. They're both polarizing. So you are explaining that, Sean, by saying, hey, I don't like Jameis Winston, or I don't think he's genuine. That's polarization. I find him hysterical and fun. You think blah, blah, blah. You don't like him.
15 less turnovers a year, I think I love him.
I understand. I kind of think the Giant room is going to connect more with Winston than Russell, and that's going to be a challenge for Brian Daboll if he wants to play Russell Wilson, but the room prefers Jameis Winston.
Only if he's not winning.
That's the thing. The room is also dying to win. This has been a laughingstock. Some of those veterans in that room, whether it's Andrew Thomas, Dexter, all they have seen is losing football outside of 2022. If I'm in a room and I'm looking at two corny individuals, one coming across more genuine than the other, I want to look at the guy who has won a Super Bowl, not the guy who basically the teams get better every time he's gone.
Hold on, though. Again, they don't care about the past. They're thinking about today. And I'm not saying this is a discussion in the middle of October because wins will dictate it. I'm saying between now and September, when they go to minicamp, when they go to training camp. There's no way you can win games in August, obviously. They don't count. So between now and the start of the season, you can't see the Giant room connecting more with Jameis Winston than Russell Wilson?
Sure, in this instance. What happened to Russell Wilson last year better not happen in New York this year. A calf injury in August where Mike Tomlin's comfortable pulling a 4-2 Justin Fields to go back to Wilson. To your point, if it's Jameis Winston who the locker room's rallied by and the team has a couple wins, maybe the Giants would be more reluctant in that instance.
We will get to your calls next at 888-808-1019. Plus, there's been audio unearthed from Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders talking about the New York Giants locker room and quarterback. Talking about that quarterback room that potentially Shedeur may be involved in. We'll play it. We'll analyze. We'll see if we learned anything from it. Plus, we got a lot of baseball to get to as well later on. I'll make Yankee fans feel better about last night's loss. And why is it okay for the New York Mets to openly tamper?